He sailed the black seas with the Argonauts, saw the beauty of the world, and yet nothing came close to the moment Orpheus saw Eurydice. He also soothed beasts and defied gods with the strings of his lyre, but the effect he had on them paled in comparison to the thought of Eurydice's embrace. When Orpheus was a child, Apollo, the god of music, gave him a 7-string lyre. His mother Calliope taught him to write his lovely sonnets, and together these wooed and caressed all things animate and inanimate. His music could charm anything that heard it. Wild animals would lie down peacefully around him. Trees and rocks would gather to listen, and rivers would cease their flow to the strum of his lyre. One such instance of this magical gift was when Orpheus and the Argonauts passed through the 3 small, rocky islands called Sirenum Scopoli. The sirens that lived within these islands sang beautiful songs that lured sailors to jump to their death. This resulted in the crashing of their ships. Orpheus brought out his lyre and began to play and sing with such captivating beauty and power that his music completely overshadowed and drowned out the seductive songs of the sirens. They escaped certain death thanks to Orpheus. Upon his return home, he did what he did best, weaving stories through song and prose. During this time, he met his love, his Eurydice. She came to him, drawn as dryads are, while he played his lyre. She stepped from behind an oak tree, and it was as if he were struck by Eros himself. Orpheus was madly in love. On the day they were married, Hymenaeus, god of marriage ceremonies, brought forth his torch to light the ceremonious lamp. It sputtered and smoked profusely, indicating a bad omen. He warned Orpheus and Eurydice that although their love was true, their happiness would not last. This they disregarded and continued to enjoy the feast of their wedding. Orpheus loved Eurydice's free spirit. She was the embodiment of untouched nature. She was beautiful, playful, nurturing, and fiercely tied to the wild. She and her people made forests flourish, and shepherds, hunters, and beekeepers worshiped them for healthy flocks and crops. Perhaps this is why Orpheus's half-brother, the beekeeping god Aristaeus, had noticed Eurydice's beauty and wanted her for himself. As Eurydice frolicked in the forest, she found herself alone in a clearing. Or so she thought. Aristaeus approached Eurydice. She rejected his unwanted advances and slipped from his grasp. As she bounded back to Orpheus's arms, she stepped upon a snake. It struck her ankle and she fell to the ground. Her soul descended to the realm below. Aristaeus was not without discipline, though, for Eurydice's companions, the nymphs, punished him by killing all of his bees. Orpheus immediately made for Taenarum, the gates to Hades, armed with only his lyre. He serenaded Charon, the ferryman, into crossing the Styx. He lulled Cerberus to sleep as he swept his fingers across the strings and made it to the threshold. When Orpheus came into the palace, Hades bellowed, "No more cheap minstrel tricks. I am a god. My rages are not to be assuaged, nor my decrees nullified. No one comes to Tartarus without being sent for. No one has before, and no one will again, when the tale is told of the torments I intend to put you to." Undeterred, Orpheus struck his lyre strings, accompanying his words. "O gods of this world, placed below the earth, to which all who are created mortal descend, if you allow me, and it is lawful, to set aside the fictions of idle tongues and speak the truth, my wife is the cause of my journey. A viper she trod on, diffused its venom into her body, and robbed her of her best years. I longed to be able to accept it, and I do not say I have not tried, but love won. I beg you, by these fearful places, by this immense abyss, and the silence of your vast realms, reverse Eurydice's swift death. All things are destined to be yours, and though we delay a while, sooner or later we hasten home. Here we are all bound. This is our final abode, and you hold the longest reign over the human race. Eurydice, too, will be yours to command when she has lived out her fair span of years to maturity. I ask this benefit as a gift. But if the fates refuse my wife this kindness, I am determined not to return. You can delight in both our deaths." All of the underworld stopped in that moment. Tantalus didn't reach for water. His eternal thirst stopped. Ixion's wheel stood still. His torture paused. The vultures stopped eating Tydeus's liver. Even they listened. Sisyphus sat on his rock and took a break, and the faces of the Furies were wet with tears, won over by his song. The king of the deep shed a single iron tear, and his royal bride Persephone could not bear to refuse his prayer. They sent forth Eurydice and released her to Orpheus under the condition that he must not turn his eyes behind him to look at her until they emerged from the veil of the underworld, or the gift would be rescinded. They took the upward path through the still silence, steep and dark, shadowy with dense fog, drawing near to the threshold of the upper world. He broke through to the sunshine, and afraid she was no longer there, Orpheus turned his eyes. In an instant she dropped back, and he, stretching out his arms to hold her and be held, clutched at nothing but the receding air. Orpheus immediately tried to re-enter the underworld to plead with Hades and Persephone again. But this time, Charon, the ferryman, would not take him across the Styx, and the gates were shut to him forever. The deal was broken. For 7 days and nights, Orpheus lamented on the shore of the Styx, refusing to eat or take pity. Heartbroken as he was, he played with unceasing grief, so much so that the trees wept, and all who heard it reveled in hopelessness. After losing Eurydice twice, Orpheus couldn't move on. He rejected life and rejected other people. He spurned the Maenads and their desires for him, and this angered them. When he rejected them because he was still mourning Eurydice, they tore him apart in a frenzy. They threw his head and lyre into the river Hebrus. He was eventually buried, and Apollo threw his lyre to the stars, where it stayed as the constellation Lyra. Eurydice and Orpheus were reunited at last, and now he could look upon her however often he desired. Though Orpheus never had any children, he was the father of song and poetry itself. He will always be remembered as the first poet, the greatest musician, the most human failure and proof that love can transcend beyond this world. "Until death do us part" was the sacred wedding vow of Orpheus and Eurydice, but it was death that brought them together in the end. Comment below of a mythological character you'd like to know more about. Like and subscribe.